What? Sorry, what did you say there? So if I'm loading a bobbin, I need to make sure there's no...
Yeah, you can't ever run this machine with thread in it unless you're sewing something.
Okay.
So if you just take it out of the... Take it
No,
out of the needle.
why is that?
Because the lock stitch is designed to flip, that little flip, in the fabric. And if you don't, it'll pull a jam, like a thread jam down there.
Okay.
Because it's not catching the fabric.
Okay.
And so one way or another, the machine has a safety clutch that will protect it from a thread jam. That's what that is.
Okay, so it jams, it will like seize,
It'll like kick off of its gear.
and then you would push this.
You push this and hold it, and then pull the machine through, and you'll feel like a shaft spinning, and then you'll feel clink, and it'll like key back into it, into its spot.
Gotcha. Okay, so we have no thread on this now. So some people do this, but you would do what? What would you do, Nick?
Some people started that way. I just started in my hand, and you'll just have to figure out how you're going to do it. But the thread, I try to loop the thread back over itself.
Just get it started.
Okay. And get it a decent amount started.
Okay.
And then get rid of that little piece you held.
Gotcha. Okay.
Is pretty, like, be pretty good about cutting that close.
All right. So you always want the thread going across the top.
Because I think when this thing turns on, it's going to spin. It's going to load. Wait, is that going to go the right way now, Brian? I don't even remember.
It needs to go.
And this thing's like the servo motor, like you can speed the thing up. I mean, that's like sweatshop style right there. You get up into 2,000 stitches a minute, and that's like, you got to know what you're doing and how far you're going and have your fingers way out of the way. I mean, you guys are going to want to be like down in the
500.
Right there, like 660, where you're full throttle and the thing's not that.
Okay. Yeah, I like it.
Not that frightening.
All right.
So this does the same thing as the knee lift, but you're able to lock it out when you pull it up by hand.
Yeah.
So you can lock this up. You can run it.
That disengages the walking foot.
At some point, you'll like break a needle off in the middle of sewing or something. You'll be like, oh fuck, and you have to just lock that thing up and like
deal with it.
Try to get the needle to come out with needle nose pliers. And yeah, I mean, you can have gory stuff where you're just like, oh man. And
so you pull the lever out.
You pull the lever, and then the thing's gonna just come right out. The bobbin stayed in there because there was thread, but.
Okay, so literally
do this without looking is like remembering how that thing's going back in. That's totally even 180.
Okay, there's only one way it can go in, right?
There's only one way it can go in, and you don't really have to. They usually lock in without holding the thing up, but holding the thing kind of like in this level plane.
Yeah, instead of at an angle,
you can just feel.
Yeah.
On the back there, that's interesting.
Little spring.
Just a spring. Okay, pushes it on.
Kind of gives it enough tension to just not freewheel in there.
Okay.
So the thread's going in.
Like that.
Clockwise.
And that's coming through that groove. Up.
And it should. And then when you spin it, it's got to go clockwise.
Okay.
So it just slips under that little plate. This thing has a little channel, and this is just a little spring plate. There's no threading about it. You just pull it enough, and it flips behind that little. Like the way the machine's set up, and for like getting into this bobbin, because there's a hook spinning around that. You want to stop with the machine at top dead center, like if you were doing like a
timing.
Yeah, timing on a motorcycle.
So top dead
center is when that take-up arm is like. It goes through an arc.
I see.
So this wheel, the motor locks. Like when you don't have any pressure on, the machine has quite a lot of resistance. You have to just lightly touch the pedal and it like frees the machine up. I'm just barely pushing on the pedal.
If you pushed more, you would engage the motor.
If I push quite a bit more, it's going to engage it. But, so it's like a electric brake motor.
I see.
So if you have to hand wind, this wheel only ever comes towards you. You put an arrow there.
Oh, really? You never...
Even in reverse, that wheel is still spinning the same way.
Always anti-clockwise, huh?
Like this, you pull this. Yeah, but I mean, I guess
So
if you think
it
about
spins the same way even when it's in reverse.
So if you,
okay. I
if
didn't
you're
notice
like,
that.
if you're pulling through thick material, sometimes you have to like help it, like get it started, and then the machine will take. But you never run it backwards.
Okay.
Like the machine, all the gearing reverses it. This machine is like the drive off the motor. It only ever goes forward.
Okay. See.
In the transmission, so it's basically like you wouldn't fuck with your like main drive sprocket unless you're wanting to drastically change the fucking gearing of
Sure.
everything. Like this is just the direct, like the main drive off the motor. Reverse has no effect on whether it goes forward or backwards.
I see. Yeah.
You see how reverse makes the those feed dogs are going. And now they're going to go. And so basically when you stop sewing, stop at top dead center.
Okay. If not,
And
just
the
wind
bobbins,
it to that position.
Yeah, you'll figure it out because you'll be sewing along and you stop. If you clip the thread and move your piece and start sewing again, that arm's down. It's going to yank this tail of thread right out from the needle and unthread your machine.
Okay.
You'll be like, oh fuck.
Good to know.
So you stop at top dead center.
Yeah.
The next stroke on the needle is down,
Okay.
so it doesn't need to steal that thread. They've fucking wrecked countless sewing machines and had to take them to repair places and just generally have problems sewing. Because you finally realize, like, oh, if I don't stop there, then it unthreads itself every time I start again.
Top dead center.
Yeah.
Team top dead center. Or lift the presser foot. It releases tension in that disc.
Right. Okay.
So that you can pull thread to
I
get
see.
your tail to snip. So you always have to lift this foot of this thing up, pull your material out,
Gotcha.
clip your little tail, and then, you know, so there was, they're just little things you'll eventually realize as you do it enough, you know, that relationship, this tension disc, this is, you're not gonna have to mess with this. The bobbin, like, you don't want the stuff to get wound on too tight onto the bobbin, but generally it's not as problematic as the top thread. The bobbin is usually not where the tension needs to be adjusted. You'll like make up for it on the top, either loosening or tightening the top.
Okay. Now, when you put the bobbin in, the housing below, we thread it through, you got that satisfying click. You left it there, and now it's just going to catch that.
It's just sitting there, yeah.
It's going to just catch it.
Totally.
How much tail do you have to leave hanging off the bobbin?
Like maybe 3 inches. It's enough to like bring it back up here and have enough to go
Enough to reach.
3 so that will just catch it when we get going.
Yeah.
Wow.
Depends on what machine is like.
Where do you oil it?
Just right on that little ridge, like a single drop.
A single drop, okay.
There might be a hole up top where it gets something. Yeah, but that's
And then you're like,
all my fears just came
Oh,
true.
no,
shit,
this is
where'd it
it.
go?
This is your worst case scenario for you guys. It didn't go through. So you know it has to go through the tension disc.
Yeah.
so that goes through the tension disc.
So it's going in there. That feels pretty tight. It just goes through there. This little arm is the take-up spring. It holds slack, so when this arm goes down, there's enough thread for it to pull back up. All you have to do is get it into this channel, the thread.
Okay.
It's similar to the bobbin. It's just going to go past that little metal finger. And that's all you'll have to do.
I see.
Just feel it go through. It actually didn't quite go through yet.
So it actually just
See,
sits on the
it
outside.
did.
Just sits on the outside of this. Yeah. Okay.
You should come look at it from this other side. It's going back behind the tension disc.
Gotcha.
And you have to kind of get it back there. And it's all it has to do is follow that channel up.
I see.
But see that little sheet metal finger
Yeah.
that curves over?
Yeah.
it has to go behind that, and you just have to pull it up enough. It just didn't. It's a weird little feeling. It's like not a very satisfying sensation.
So it comes behind this, literally just behind.
And kind of pull it up this way.
And it goes through this eye here, right?
No, you don't ever. You'll never have to thread this like that.
Not through here?
Well, you'll just. No, you will. It'll go through there, but you never have to. These all are designed like that little metal finger's gonna hold it. There's another one on here. There's another little metal finger. So you have the thread up there.
Yeah.
And if you pull it this way, it's gonna like you're still looking for this bottom finger still. You haven't gotten that. Mine, I think, is maybe slightly easier. Well, let's just.
There's probably a. What about if you just pulled it?
That's what I'm going to do.
Just push it.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to get like, see, this one is more, that one's more like all the other ones that actually.
Okay, and again, you went behind that groove there for that one. I see.
And so this one.
Piece of cake.
That one's a little.
I wonder if
your machine.
The next eye is here from this way. And then through here.
Which is also probably just a drag. You can just drag it through there.
And so this is, it's going through that hoop now. Yeah. I think that one you actually have to thread straight through it.
Who the hell came up with all these eyes, and how do they work that out? We need 6 eyes.
When you see the thread spooling off and someone's ripping at high speeds,
it makes more sense.
The placement is even so subtle that like the thread is like you can get thread wound the wrong way and it might not work in the machine because it's just.
Okay.
So here's another one of those flippers. You just got to flip it back behind there.
Gotcha.
Unsatisfying.
And do you ever have to?
That's some kind of trippy little tensioner as well. The needle bar that's going at a downward angle.
This one here?
Yeah.
Fucking crazy.
Totally intuitive. Okay, right there.
Yeah.
Now through the needle.
Yeah. Not that way.
This way?
Yes. In the basically the way someone told me to remember, and it's I'll tell you again at some point, because the hook is on that side. That's where the hook is going to grab that thread. Like it's going to come around and grab on that side. That's, and basically they're like, yeah, if you thread it the other way, you're not going to make a loop.
Through this bar,
then, like
down.
This is where it gets a little finicky for each machine.
So then we're going to go down underneath this bar.
And then it's going to actually have to go through the hole of that foot.
This hole here?
Yeah.
Do you raise the foot for this?
I usually do, yeah.
Okay, so we can raise this sucker up here.
Actually, at this point, you could hook the bobbin, and it would also thread that hole at the same time. So if you, right now, hold on to this, and with the bar up, hold that tail, though, too.
So you're holding the tail, you're stepping on the pedal just enough to release it to hand feed.
You went a little too much. That's okay, though.
Okay, we didn't lose it.
Coming on.
I'm scared to get it. I feel like it's going to take my finger.
Watch yourself under there.
There we go.
Really, I mean, this little guard, like some of the other finger guards they make for machines, are much more intrusive.
Okay,
like,
so I have.
You are in the danger zone.
I'm in the danger.
Anywhere in the fucking direct line of fire.
So it threaded you through the right place, though. It did it.
It did it, yeah. It didn't.
I don't know why I did it.
It didn't hook the bobbin, though. Hold on to that tail.
Okay.
Don't let go of it. And now it's gonna pull the bobbin thread.
Should I hold on?
Yeah.
Okay.
And now you're looking for top dead center again.
Okay.
And there it is.
Holy moly.
And then you can just kind of like use the non-sharp side.
You getting all this?
Yeah.
Perfect. Brilliant.
I was thinking I was going to get your first injury.
That helps. Put in the purchase order.
Okay.
Get the CEO. Make the CEO.
We got no plug, man. No plug.
Make him well aware of the importance of this project.
A little inspiration here.
Yeah, he's looking down on me.
So
That's my inspiration.
You'll be doing eventually some more meticulous type of seam where it's important where you're like lining the fabric up. But for now, we're just going to start, press your foots down, you're holding the thread.
Press the foot down, holding the thread. Copy
And
that.
the first, I just don't think it's got quite enough juice.
Interesting. Okay.
It's got to be like just off of bottom. And so once it's made a couple stitches, you don't have to hold on to that anymore.
I see.
Reverse.
So if you ever doing a double
I'm just
stitch,
following that thread line along that presser foot.
I see.
That's how you make things be real even, is you're always trying to gauge where it is. Turn, when you want to make a turn, okay. Bottom dead center, the needle's sunk in all the way. Let the presser foot.
Bottom dead center, you can spin it, okay.
It's just the easiest way. If you're spinning, like when you get to a corner and you want to make a sharp corner.
Right.
I mean, I'll end up doing stuff like this. I'm holding reverse. I'm still winding this thing forward. The machine's still in reverse. Getting to a corner, bottom dead center, letting go. And then turning that 90 degrees perfectly.
With
like,
the
see
needle
how
completely buried.
This? Yeah, with the needle completely buried. Your next seam allowance lined up.
That looks literally just like a right angle there, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Kind of almost seems like the bottom slightly winning the tension.
It looks like a fairly good sized stitch too.
Mm-hmm. Stitch length.
So you said the bottom is winning as it has a slightly more tension, so you just
tighten. So I just gave that like a couple clicks.
Couple CHs there.
Okay, so the yellow looks like more tension.
Only because it's like more of a black hole there. And this is kind of a little loose.
Yeah, I see that.
It's a big stitch length. Stitch length is tough to adjust unless the machine's running, or else you kind of have to
relieve a little tension.
Relieve a little tension on it. I think you guys are going to be closer to like 5. This time I'm holding threads that way.
Okay.
And once you've sewn a couple stitches, to clear your work, top dead center, knee bar lifts, and there's no thread tension. I would just push it away. That's what that last little hole you thread in that foot is.
Yeah.
So you don't break the thread on the needle eye all the time. So it just lets you. See how you can just barely see the yellow now?
Yeah.
I'd say that's so way better in tension.
Match in the tension between the bobbin and the needle
and
thread.
You literally gave it just one click?
I think I gave it 2.
2 clicks now.
But the stitch length is down like
2 clicks. So you got that stitch to 5, much tighter stitch.
And it's
stitch.
Yeah, it's like yours. That looks closer. Yeah. That's probably pretty close. I mean, it could probably even be slightly larger.
Keeping a straight line.
Guide off the presser foot and follow a line of stitching or the edge of your fabric.
Okay. So watching the edge of your foot.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I was keeping track of this one.
And so it's harder when you're just out in a field like that. So you would have to have marks.
I need to bring this down, raise that, spin it.
Yeah, okay. Now you've got that action.
Got that down there.
You following that little white line.
Yeah. Okay, how did that? It wasn't too bad. I used that white line as the guide.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is there's a fine line between like trying too hard to follow it and just letting the machine pull it. You know what I mean? And not like keep an extra pucker in there. Trying to kind of work that seam all the way as far out as you can get it. I'll give you an example of this sort of rolling around the corner as opposed to...
Is that what you just did?
Instead of like putting it down and making a 90, because it was like... We're sort of rounded anyway. That one is closer to a 90, but...
Right.
When I tell you to dump a body in the marsh, you dump them in the marsh.